Today's episode is one that is admittedly a little silly. All three drinks are named after cars. Cars are another hobby of mine, whether it be Formula One racing or just learning about different European auto manufacturers and when they used an air-cooled engine versus a water-cooled engine. And I won't get too far into that in today's episode because that's not what this channel is about. It was loosely based on the idea that Punch Drink, there's a website called punch.com. Punch put out a list of some 50-50 shots that were pretty popular. I don't do shots. I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've taken a shot. In general, this is not some kind of high and mighty soapbox thing. I just don't tend to drink that many drinks whenever I do drink, and I don't value consuming alcohol in that way. So I do think that that list was really interesting. I can link it below so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But I tend to stir and make these drinks as drinks, sometimes with ice, sometimes served up. So I'm going to take, they're 50-50 ratios for the first two drinks anyway. And so first one is called a Ferrari that uses Fernet and Campari. The second one is called a Maserati, which uses Mezcal and Ramazotti. And the third one is one that I made up. My daily driver car is actually a BMW 5 Series. It's about 14 years old. But it has a manual transmission, and it's one that's really fun for me. And so I made up a drink that, of course, uses ingredients that begin with B, M, and W. It is not a 50-50 drink like the first two are, but it is a silly one, and I hope that you enjoy. We'll get to that later in the episode. You may have noticed my shirt, too, is Ferrari red. This is an old Formula One shirt. I don't remember how many years old. It's maybe 20 years old or so, from back when Bridgestone was still the tire sponsor, if that means anything to you. Oh, and when cigarettes could still sponsor Formula One teams. This is a Scuderia Ferrari, but also a Marlboro shirt, so kind of fun there. All right, let's start making these drinks. I think, once again, if you're making these in a shot form, probably a half ounce of any of these ingredients probably would be fine. I'm not going to make huge, like full-size drinks even today. I'm going to do 3/4 ounce of each, which is going to equal 1.5 ounces pre-diluted, or maybe about 2 ounces diluted. So they'll still be kind of small drinks. If you want to sip on them for longer, feel free to make bigger drinks. It's easy to scale up 50-50 recipes. We'll do 3/4 ounce of Campari. And I'll also say that this drink in particular, the Ferrari, is probably not for somebody who doesn't like either Campari or Fernet. This is an interesting combination because they're two very strong and bitter, and Campari more so than Fernet, sweet liqueurs, but it just works. There's something about it that, once again, you have to like the ingredients. You have to like the bitterness of Campari and Fernet for this one to work, but it is an impressive combination for being so simple. And it's amazing how the red stands up to something so dark and brown like Fernet. But I'll get a little bit of ice. Be right back. We got some ice. Let's stir. I think part of the bummer sometimes of a shot is that the drink is just gone so quickly. You spend all this time measuring and stirring and sometimes even garnishing or lighting on fire. And then it's just gone. I don't know. It's just not my style. Pour into our chilled glass here. Gonna also do a little orange garnish. Something a lot of people don't know is that the bitter quality in Campari is actually bitter orange peel. Similar to the second cocktail, I'm going to garnish with orange also because Ramazotti has an orange quality to it as well. So this is a great garnish for both. And further sets your drink apart from the shot culture. Cheers. Yeah, the orange aroma just works perfectly with the Campari. It's great. It is a bitter drink, I have to say that, but yeah, the sweetness and the bitterness just works together beautifully. It's crazy how red it is. It's sort of this like rich sort of blood red color. All right, and now the Maserati. This one uses Mezcal and also Ramazotti. I will say that this drink is significantly less bitter than the first one, but does have a smokiness. So you have to like Mezcal to like this one. So Each of these drinks is kind of challenging in its own regard, and maybe that's kind of like the sports car brands, like they would be as well. A little bit of challenge, a little bit of a mystique or allure. We'll do 3/4 ounces of mezcal. This is Vita Mezcal, one of my favorites for mixing. And then we'll do 3/4 of an ounce also of this Ramazotti. There's another 50-50 mezcal and Amaro combination on the list that is called an M&M. That's probably a little bit more well-known or more historic. That uses mezcal and also an Italian Amaro called Montenegro. I like this one a little bit better. I like the richness of Ramazotti as compared to Montenegro, but they're both great Amaros and they make great drinks. And we'll stir. Smells awesome. Strain it over here. This one is a much richer brown color. The mezcal is unaged and is totally clear, and the Ramazotti is a little bit of a darker colored Amaro than the Fernet Branca. So what we end up with is a pretty rich brown shade. I'm going to add also an orange swath for a little bit of brightness on the nose. Get some of those orange oils mixed in there, and we'll give it a try. Cheers. Yeah, I think this one, even though it does have a smoky quality to it, this Amaro is such a strong flavor that it really does stand up to it. It brings a lot of sweetness and a lot of roundness and a spice character that if mezcal isn't always your first choice, then this might be a fun entry point. But I'm sure it would also work well with a tequila, maybe with a Blanco tequila. You could get maybe a similar quality of the grassiness from agave, but without that smoke. Yeah, that's great too. Okay, Ferrari, Maserati down. Now we're going to make a BMW. So whereas the first two drinks here had the guiding light of a well-known spirits publication, this one just comes from my brain. My creative constraint had to do with putting together 3 ingredients that began with B, M, and W respectively. So for those 3 ingredients, we are doing Buchanan's pineapple whiskey, we are doing Morgenthaler's recipe of lime cordial, and for the W, we're going with Ray and Nephew white rum. This is a double W, if you will. And so if you just have a different white rum, that would also be fine and satisfy the W requirement. But I specifically like Ray and Nephew, and I'm calling for that in this recipe. Probably you've heard of a Rose's lime juice or real lime juice or something like that. And that is lime cordial. This is made with lime juice, lime zest, sugar, and also citric acid. And so it brings a really nice brightness and is a way to bring both the tartness and some sweetness in just one M letter ingredient. Buchanan's pineapple is something that I didn't want to like nearly as much as I do. Oftentimes fruit flavored spirits are something that I kind of dismiss because there's an artificial quality to them. And while I won't say that this tastes exactly like pineapple, the pineapple candy quality that comes out of this Buchanan's pineapple is just a lot of fun. And so, yes, not the most serious cocktail I've ever produced, but it's a fun one, and I hope you enjoy it too. So we'll jump right in. We're just going to do a 1/2 ounce of this Buchanan's pineapple. It does not take much to get the pineapple flavor going. This cap appears to be smarter than me. There's some kind of little floating ball in it that meters the amount of liquid that you can pour. I did get it figured out, and we have a 1/2 ounce here. Then we're going to do 3/4 ounce of this lime cordial. And finally, 1.5 ounces of this Ray and Nephew white rum. These are 50 ml bottles, which is right around 1.7 ounces. So if you put the whole thing in there, that would probably be fine. The only reason I have these bottles is because my local store was out of the full 750, but they did have these cute little 50 ml bottles, and you could get them in a little 12 pack. So I went ahead and did that because I didn't want to be without Ray and Nephew. So as you can see, I left behind a pretty significant amount. And this is a strong spirit too, so you may not want to overdo it by putting the full amount in there. Or maybe you want to scale everything up around it if you do have these little bottles. We'll grab some ice and we'll shake. doesn't need a super long shake because I'm going to pour it over a big cube. But if you wanted to serve it up, you might want to shake it a little bit longer. And here you go, a BMW. The pineapple quality is minimal. You could certainly do more if you wanted to. I wanted it to be a little bit of a background note in this pineapple rumlet. The lime cordial, I think, is actually what shines, and because the sweetness and the punchiness of the citric acid is so intense, I think something like Wray & Nephew works really well to help balance some of that sweetness and acidity with some rum funk to go along with it. It's really fun. It has a lot going on. I think that this is one for me that does really well over a big cube because it is fairly sweet and it is fairly tart, and so it can stand to be diluted a good bit further. Pretty silly, but pretty fun. Cheers. Thanks for joining and thanks for watching this intersection of different passions of mine. I hope you try to make these drinks at home. They're all pretty easy to make, 2 or 3 ingredients respectively. And even the rest of the drinks on that 50-50 list, like I said, that I'll link below, are worth making too and exploring. It's fun to have a whole arsenal of 50-50 drinks, whether you choose to drink them as shots or drink them as stirred drinks or even shaken drinks, depending on how you're feeling. At the end of the day, drinks are for fun. And my goal with this channel is to teach people enough so they can share that fun with the people they love. Come and be amazed at what you can do. Cheers.